Hello, everyone. In this Tech Talk, I'm going to introduce you to a new feature in AWS Transfer Family, SFTP connectors. Before I discuss the new feature, let's review the primary use cases customers enable with Transfer Family. The core use case is simple file sharing. Customers use Transfer Family's fully managed endpoints to provide access to data stored in AWS storage over common protocols like SFTP. This allows customers to easily share files with external third-party users or applications without refactoring. When customers formalize this third-party data sharing into a centralized business function and designate a central team responsible for administering those exchanges, they often refer to this practice as Managed File Transfer, or MFT. Customers use AWS Transfer Family to build and deliver cloud-native MFT for their businesses and partners. Finally, with the addition of AS2 in 2022, customers are now able to exchange EDI documents used for transactional business-to-business or B2B communications with their business partners. AWS Transfer Family's fully managed AS2 service provides a modern interface for EDI, enabling customers to simplify business-critical functions, such as supply chain operations. It was AS2 where Transfer Family first introduced the concept of a connector, which enables customers to use a fully managed service to enable outbound workflows with their partners. Now we have extended our outbound capabilities to include the SFTP protocol. SFTP Connectors is a fully managed service which simplifies copying data between remote SFTP servers and Amazon S3. Some customers refer to these workflows as client operations. These types of fully managed SFTP client operations are most frequently utilized as part of a managed file transfer architecture. When an MFT architecture includes both server and client operations, we call that a bidirectional MFT workflow. And with the introduction of SFTP connectors, AWS Transfer Family now supports bidirectional MFT by providing both a fully managed listening endpoint for SFTP, FTPS, or FTP, as well as a fully managed connector for outbound SFTP. MFT customers are now able to receive files from third-party users or automated pipelines over these common protocols, process these files to refine them, or create new information and distribute this data to external third parties over SFTP. Additionally, SFTP connectors support retrieve operations, which means a connector can connect to an external SFTP server and pull a file to be stored in your Amazon S3 buckets, driving automated pipelines like enriching your data lake with third-party data. SFTP connectors will scale on your behalf, meaning you do not need to do the heavy lifting of determining decision points like what type of compute platform to use or how to build in AZ-level redundancy. SFTP connectors is easy to set up and integrates with other AWS services, offering an API which can be integrated with your code pipelines and your preferred scheduling tools. As a fully managed service, SFTP connectors maintain certain compliances based on industry standards like HIPAA, preventing you from having to not only build your own solution, but ensure its compliance on your own as well. And SFTP connectors are cost efficient. You will only pay for a connector when you use it and based on the data you move with the service. The real value of SFTP connectors is realized at scale when you reduce the burden of managing and maintaining infrastructure and complex code and automate these pipelines, saving time for your operations and development personnel. While using this fully managed service to enable key pipelines to deliver data into your S3 buckets, you break down the need for data silos. From S3, your data can be incorporated into AI, analytics, data lake, and many other workloads. This fully managed service will log all of its activity into CloudWatch, ensuring that you have the complete logs you need for your compliance and governance. All of this value Connectors provides while only requiring that you pay for the service when you use it and based on how much data you move with it. There are no minimum commitments or ongoing fees. Let's quickly review the architecture of Transfer SFTP connectors, and then we will discuss how to get started. An SFTP connector is configured for access to a remote SFTP server. The connector configuration holds all the information necessary to make a connection to the remote server to either retrieve files from the source or send files to the destination. The files sent or retrieved are persisted in Amazon S3 buckets, where they can be used by your critical pipelines such as analytics, machine learning, persisted as a long-term archive, or distributed out to external subscribers as content. There are many more use cases. So let's get started with SFTP connectors. We support deploying SFTP connectors with CloudFormation or our CLI and API, but a connector is also easily configured in our console. Within the AWS Transfer Family console, in the Connections menu, you can select Create Connector. We now support creating a connector over either AS2 or SFTP. When you select SFTP and select Next, you will be able to store a URL for your connector, which may be a host name or an IP address. You are also welcome to use a colon at the end and specify a custom port for this external server. Additionally, you will want to select a role which has access to the location in S3 where you want to send or retrieve your data to or from, as well as a secret and secrets manager which will hold the authentication details. More on that in a second. Additionally, you can select a logging role, which allows all of the activities of your new connector to be logged in CloudWatch for later auditing and reporting. Additionally, on the connector configuration console, you are able to store the host key for your external server to ensure your connector is reaching the right source, and apply any tags you might want to for your connector as well. Finally, you're able to select or create a secret from AWS Secrets Manager. This secret will be the source for any login credentials needed to authenticate to the external server. If you click on the dropdown, you'll be allowed to choose from an existing list of secrets in your account, or if you haven't previously stored this secret, you can link directly to store a new secret in another window. Your secret will be stored as another kind of secret and should contain a username as well as either a password, a key, or both. SFTP connectors will support authentication flows for keys, passwords, or keys combined with passwords based on your external server's login requirements. Once you have configured the details of your secret and selected Next, you'll be able to give your secret a name. We recommend a naming prefix such as AWS Transfer Connector to be able to easily identify the secret in your connector configuration console. Once you apply a name and select Next, your secret will be available in the Secrets console. If you're adhering to the concept of least privileged access, you'll want to select your secret and update the role you created for your SFTP connector to include only the specific ARN of the secret that contains that connector's authentication details. With your secret created, you'll have all the information you need to create your SFTP connector. So SFTP connectors will enable outbound push architectures. One customer example includes a payment application, which uses a Transfer Family SFTP server to upload its transaction details at the end of each day. In this use case, the incoming file needs to be compressed and encrypted and pushed to an external SFTP server in a partner's network. Utilizing AWS Transfer Family workflows, automated file processing operations are enabled on the transfer server to both compress and encrypt the file. This file is then staged to a specific prefix in an S3 bucket, where an S3 event is configured to call an AWS Lambda function on put. This Lambda contains a low-code call to the API for connectors, which makes the external connection to the partner SFTP server and pushes the newly staged file automatically. SFTP connectors also enable inbound pull architectures. In this customer example, a pharma company is retrieving clinical research data from an external partner's SFTP server and storing it in S3. In this architecture, the customer uses an event bridge schedule to periodically call a Lambda function. And this Lambda function retrieves a list of files from a DynamoDB table and calls an SFTP connector to retrieve the files and store them in S3. In this customer's use case, it was desired that a notification be sent when a new file was staged. So an additional S3 event was configured to call a Lambda, which sent a notification to an SNS topic when a new file was written to the configured prefix. These are just some of the workloads you can enable with AWS Transfer Family's SFTP connectors. To learn more or get started with AWS Transfer Family, please visit our site where you can find more content about our service, our use cases, and SFTP connectors. Thank you for viewing our Tech Talk to learn more about AWS Transfer Family and SFTP connectors.